I'm gonna get you up on my screen here. All right. Hello, everybody. Slightly Slanted Sleuths coming at you from Oakdale, Minnesota. Oh, sorry, I gotta do this like I always do. Mess it up. Hello, everybody. But we got Phil Langdon with us, and we're gonna be discussing the Kybalion. Kybalion and where it originates. And you know, I have to eat crow a little bit because I've made a couple misstatements that I thought were true that aren't. So we'll explain that in a minute. But hi, Phil. How are you? How you been, man?
Yeah, I'm very good, man. Thank you. I'm really, really good. I'm really happy to be here talking to you again. To be honest, it's been too long.
Yeah, I thought so too, and I'm glad you could join us. And
yeah,
you know, hopefully your life has slowed down a bit and you've settled into your new job and whatnot.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, I've got more time now, but I'm doing different shifts this week, so it's everything's shifted. So I'm awake late at night, so we can do this. I've got today off.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what did you think we should talk about first and cover first?
Yeah, in terms of this talk, I thought should focus on the Kybalion because it's probably the #1 work that is associated with Hermeticism that is making the rounds online. It's the sort of reference piece that everybody uses and says, look, hey, the Kybalion is authority, and there's an immediate association with the authority of Hermes. And yet, when you read through it, I realize, having got to the end of that process, I realized that it was written by an intellectual who is superficially interpreting the Hermetic principles, and they're doing an okay job on it, but it's so poor in terms of what it could be that it needs to be stated, and they've drawn some conclusions that are wrong, and I'm going to show you what those are. I've actually got the Kybalion up on my screen, okay. So I'll share it with you in a bit. I wanted to mention something first, so we'll have a look at that, at the exact nature of what is written in there and why it's wrong. This particular issue is a big issue on the principle of mentalism that is misunderstood. So the first thing I thought would be really important to state is that your Ascension event, as we've stated before, is the same nature as the event of creation. They are one and the same. So the Ascension is ending, in a way, the process of creation, and creation is starting it, but they are one and the same event. And what's being created is the abyss in which the cosmos ends up residing or churning within its confines. And all we're really creating is the light and the abyss that it exists within. So we're generating the foundation of what produces the cosmos. We don't produce the cosmos directly. That light that is produced is what produces the cosmos, independently of us and God and anything else. It's completely automatic and independent, like a program, you know, because the light is fixed in the way that it is. It will only affect the abyss in this way. And the abyss, as I've stated before, is what we call a scalar field, which is really like a sea of potential that the light has an effect on and turns into vectors and tensors. Okay.
The primordial soup, if you will, right?
Yeah, the ocean of chaos, it's called, or the abyss, or Hades, or the underworld. They're just different titles for the same thing. It's a bottomless ocean, as it's referred to in the ancient past.
Awesome.
Yeah. The cosmos.
When we do recreate the light, when we first see the light, or is it after that when you meet the ineffable?
You meet the ineffable first, and then the ineffable enters you and unifies with you, and then expands from the center of your head, and that expansion event fires up your pineal gland. It's a timeless event, so the light produced in the pineal gland is forever trapped in the abyss. Yeah, the expansion produces the abyss. It's an infinite pulse.
Oh, so that's the abyss. It's not, okay, I gotcha. That's where I was confused. Confused.
You experience an infinite pulse, and because it's infinite, it's timeless, so it happens immediately, and it basically expands out to encompass an infinite space, which is bizarre. Because if you're thinking of moving across space, it takes time to cover that space, and yet this event is instantaneous, and it becomes infinite instantly. It's the strangest thing to explain in these terms. Because it's infinite, it's very, very subtle. You see what I mean? It's not a load of physical stuff that gets produced. It's a space in which physical stuff can be produced that comes from you.
So you're pretty much, what you're saying is we feed the chaos with our understanding?
We produce a singular field, put it that way.
Okay.
You could say that, but it's a mental plane. It is the mental plane. It's the expansion of your mind as it is. It's an inversion of your mind. So just as you have an infinite capacity to think of anything, you know, with just infinite potential in your thoughts, if you invert that, you translate it into an infinite space.
Okay,
Yeah.
now in the eyes of the Kybalion, or Kybalion, is the abyss the female principle and the light the male?
Yeah, you can talk about the light in terms of being male and female. It's
Androgynous.
It's androgynous in a sense, fundamentally, but it's mostly spoken about as being male.
Okay.
Because it's a great serpent. It's the end of a cycle, and that cycle is referred to as the body of a serpent. Yeah.
Wow.
The great serpent in Revelations is a reference to the cycle of creation that produces it.
That's the Ouroboros, right? The same one and the same.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, it's the same as Apep. The Ouroboros is another way of referring to Apep. But Apep, the story of Apep in the Egyptian myth is a more engaging story. It's not just an inanimate, curled up snake that doesn't say anything or do anything. There's a story there.
Right.
So it depends on what source you look at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I want to say hi to everybody that's joining us. Paula wants to know if you got your bag of frozen peas on hand.
I don't need it.
You got a new rig there or what?
No. It's cool enough to use.
Good.
If it starts overheating, I'll have to go and get the bag of peas again.
But yeah, hi everybody. Hi Mike. Hi Max. Hi Joanne. Paula.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. We're talking with Phil today about the Kybalion and a lot of misdirection, unintentional on my part. A couple things that I misled people on that I thought were one thing, but they're the other. But we're covering that. And if you guys have any questions, just put them in all caps in the chat, and I'll try to get them to them. But yeah, so yeah, Phil, I really appreciate you coming on and clearing this up, because it's a hard road to tread on your own, and I totally give you props for helping me out and whoever's listening.
Yeah, that's fine, man. It's a good thing to have someone who does understand, that can help out. I've been looking for that for a long time, and I've never really found anyone who knows and has the authority to correct anything, because a lot of people are bamboozled by ancient texts, and they just think it's amazing because it's ancient. But yep. I don't have that. I'm not enamored by meeting famous people, for instance. I'm not impressed by that at all. Nothing impresses me in these terms anymore. So when I see these texts, I'm immediately critical.
Well, I appreciate you. You emailed me a week ago, and you said you gave me some advice as to what to pay attention to, and I appreciate that. And if you've paid attention to my channel at all, you can notice that I stopped putting out I guess you could call superficial stuff, in terms of my previous stuff I used to have on my channel, because I'm trying to focus on this primarily and work, obviously, because it's summer now, so but yeah.
yeah. I think that's great. I mean, getting more into definition and refinement is the right way to go. When you have things defined and refined, and you know them, you know their place, you can open a lot more doors in your mind, as it were. I want to show you something else as well in terms of the Kybalion that maybe people haven't seen before. That's quite interesting as well. Called Summum, but we'll look at that in a bit. So yeah, that first point was that we don't generate the so-called Big Bang of the cosmos when we have ascension. We're actually generating the creator and the abyss. That's it. That's all we're creating. And the creator in that abyss automatically generates the cosmos then, effectively. Yeah, but...
No, the creator is not the ineffable, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Right.
It's a signature of God, like a footprint left behind the light.
That's the Son of God and the Son of Man in Scripture.
That's correct. Exactly right. Yeah. It's both. It's the Son of God and the Son of Man. That's right.
And we create that creator together with God, with the divine union with God, right?
That's right. Yeah, you don't even have to think about it. It's just the expansion that automatically creates the light in your pineal gland. But well, there's a lot to say about that individually, because it's actually outside the cosmos. It has to be outside the cosmos, being timeless. Anything inside the cosmos is timed, and the only region that isn't timed is the center of a galaxy or a black hole. You can have black holes in galaxies as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's funny that they're talking about that more and more on the news lately.
Yeah. They're getting to a point where they're starting to see the hermetic concept behind a black hole in association with timelessness. Yeah, they're starting to talk about timelessness and time and the future and the past all being present at once. This right. Sort of idea. This is starting to get interesting, and I think they're getting their heads around it finally.
Now, when people say that we live in a multiverse, is there any truth to that in your opinion, or?
I would say that's a fairly large subject in and of itself.
Okay, forget I asked then.
Just because I'm used to thinking of in terms of the tree of life, and the tree of life delineates 3 dimensions. It also highlights 0 dimensions, so you could say there's 4 altogether. Normally in science, they would say the 4th dimension is time, which is fine when you're doing modeling, mathematical modeling. But when you're actually looking at the realities, it turns out that timelessness is also dimensionless. So a dimensionlessness is referred to as monad in the ancient past, especially by the Greeks. They would use the word monad. That's also used in the Gnostic texts as well, to refer to dimensionless truth or heaven or God.
And monad essentially means at one with the one, right? I mean,
it means one. It's simple.
Yeah.
It just means one by itself, which is automatically infinite because there's no comparison to a singular nature.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you, sorry.
No, that was about the only thing. Well, not the only thing, but a big part of the Kybalion that really confused me was the whole tiers or planes, they call it. Planes of existence, planes of plant planes, and all that.
Right.
Maybe you could touch on that. That's a little convoluted. It's hard to muddle through that. I know.
That's fine. When I spoke to you in that email, I read it back afterwards. I realized I sounded quite serious. But
yeah, you did.
Yeah, I know. But when I'm writing it, I usually have a smile on my face, and you can't see that. So you can't see the mood in which I'm writing it. So I found it quite amusing that when I say there is the abyss, the creator, and the cosmos, what you're talking about there, the abyss really is the mental plane, what they refer to as the mental plane, and it automatically incorporates the light. So when you talk about the abyss, it already has the light in it. So sometimes the light isn't mentioned as part of the mental plane. So that the cosmos in the mental plane, because it exists within that mental plane, infinite space, is the material plane, what they refer to as material plane. And the spiritual plane is dimensionless heaven. That's what I would refer to it as. So you have
pleroma, right?
Yeah, pleroma, that's right. Yeah, so you have these 3 tiers or 3 levels of existence. The manifest levels express a similar nature to the dimensionless heaven, which is infinite. So the abyss, as an expression of it, is going to be infinite. But the light in that infinite abyss is finite but its infinite nature is expressed in the fact that it's timeless. So it always exists. It's eternal, but it's a finite thing. So it's the link. It's like a link between heaven and earth, a link between the infinite and the finite. It's a definitive. Yes, a definitive link.
I just had one of those epiphanies that put another thing together for me when you said that, and I can't even try to explain it, but yeah, it goes back to like the algorithm for the computer to turn software into hardware motion, or to thought into action. And in the sense of that's pretty much what our purposes, right? I mean, we put that recreation right back into creation, right? I mean, isn't that what the seeing the light's all about?
Kind of, yeah. Your effort in creation, which I'm going to refer to in terms of summum a bit later. I think we should leave that till later, because we our heads around the Kybalion first.
All right.
I get what you mean. There's a lot of ways of talking about this link between heaven and earth. You can also talk about the cosmos in terms of being hell, and that the creator is the devil. So there's a different way of seeing it. And finding the creator is being released from its influence as well. So there's another area of research or thought in terms of overcoming reincarnation and overcoming being a subject or a slave to the automatic nature. Because if you're reincarnating and you have no control over that, you really are like somebody in a washing machine that can't stop the cycle and step out. So what you're doing is overcoming that and becoming free of that.
The longer you're in, the more agitated you get.
The more what?
I said the longer you're in the wash machine, the more agitated you get.
You can do it until you realize you're supposed to relax. You're just supposed to relax, and then you'll be able to get out of it.
Yeah. Good. It seems like a uphill battle. I mean, every day. Because you're working all the time, treadmill of life, all the stuff going on, you're getting stressed out. Yeah. And then when you do finally have time, you get caught up in all this information that you think is true, and you start following it, and then all of a sudden you're down this fork that you never even wanted to go down in the first place. Yeah.
Trying to figure out things and put things together when the material you've got is maybe only 70% true.
Right.
And that 30% that's been made up, like this portion in the Kybalion we're going to see in a moment, it totally throws you off, and it makes you think that you're thinking incorrectly about certain things that are in fact correct. So it changes the way you perceive things, because if you take the Kybalion as an authoritative book and you trust it, you're going to incorporate everything it says into your thought processes and apply it like that. So let me show you, first of all, why the Kybalion is not authority to start with. And it's very, very simple, because I need to share my screen. Okay, I'm going to share.
Yep. And maybe you can get into where the Kybalion originates and,
Yeah. Okay. Desktop.
Hey, Skywatcher footage. Hi, Free Press 666. Glad you guys could join us. Rebecca, hi. Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The first thing, I often just check on Wikipedia just to get a general sense of things. And Wikipedia confirms straight away. I didn't think this was right, but I was so surprised to learn that the Kybalion was originally published in 1908.
I thought it was older than that.
Yeah, that puts it in the realm of the intellectual occultists of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, like Madame Blavatsky, Aleister Crowley later on, the whole crew, the whole crowd that's associated around the year 1900 with spiritualism as well, like Arthur Conan Doyle, who got involved in spiritualism, and people are sort of inculcating their own ideas into the subject of occultism and hermeticism. So this, to me, is an example of somebody it's like somebody rewriting the essential contents of the Bible with their own particular spin, without fully understanding what the real core truth is that's being conveyed, and that they've missed it out as a result. So you're not getting the real essence of what needs to be conveyed by it. All right, now I'll give you a perfect example of that. So hang on, let me just, here we go. Here's the Kybalion itself. And I've just gone past all the 7 Hermetic principles and the very shallow explanation of each one. And I've gone down to where it's talking about the principle of mentalism in more detail. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Right, so if you go down to where it says, but this means far more than appears on the surface, he's talking about what's called transmutation. Let's have a read first and see what he's trying to say. This is transmutation, alchemy or chemistry on the mental plane is important enough in its effects to be sure. And if the art stopped there, it would still be one of the most important branches of study known to man. That's very interesting, because what he's about to say suggests that he's giving you the impression that if you become a master of reality, you could really manipulate reality around you, right? And he goes on, it sounds like he's really building this concept up. And he goes on to say, but this is only the beginning. Let us see why. You know, there's a lot of drama in this talk.
Cliffhanger statements, yeah.
Cliffhanger. And then he says, the first of the Hermetic principles, the principle of mentalism, the axiom of which is the all is mind, the universe is mental. That's not actually true, because what is mental is the mental plane, and the light, the creator, is a result of your mentality. But the cosmos is not a result of your mentality. It's only an indirect result of the situation that has come about because of your mentality, because of your mentalism that unified dual opposites with God and to create the abyss. But the universe is a physical illusion that has come from that eternal state or relationship between the abyss and the light. So he goes on here to say, the all is mind, the universe is mental, which means that the underlying reality of the universe is mind, and the universe itself is mental. That is, existing in the mind of the all. Well, that's fine as a statement, but he goes on and says, we shall consider this principle in succeeding lessons, but let us see the effect of the principle if it be assumed to be true. So he's now going to make an assumption. And then the assumption is this: if the universal is mental in its nature, then mental transmutation must be the art of changing the conditions of the universe. Notice that he's put that in block capitals.
Yep.
As if it's really important, but that can't be right. That can't be true. You can't change the condition of the universe because it's automatic. If something is automatic, it can't be changed. You can't change the way a star behaves. Yeah, it's impossible. Right. So he goes on and says, along the lines of matter, force, and mind. So you see, therefore, that mental transmutation is really the magic of which the ancient writers had so much to say in their mystical works, and about which they gave so few practical instructions. Why do you think they've given so few practical instructions?
I don't know why.
Because there are no instructions to transmute whatever. If you look at higher up where it says transmutation here,
yep,
in these inverted commas, it says is a term usually employed to designate the ancient art of the transmutation of metals, particularly of the base metals, into gold. There is no such thing. You cannot turn copper into gold.
Right, but I mean that's what everybody is led to believe. Like what was that that Hudson Hawk movie, or they say that Da Vinci made a machine that did it, right?
No, there's no such thing. You cannot do that.
I know that now, but I mean, when I heard the word transmutation or alchemy, I thought of, transmutating gold or lead into gold.
Yeah, it's
That was my
nothing but
first thought.
it's nothing but metaphor. People still get it wrong in documentaries these days. I see them on TV every now and then. You'll see a program about the Holy Grail or something, or the Philosopher's Stone, and they say it's made by some chemical process, but the chemical process is the one that occurs in your physiology. That's where the chemical process occurs, because the light is a physiological result. Yeah.
Cool. Yep.
And it is the gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're turning the lead of your base system, your chakra system, and you are awakening your higher chakras by reaching toward the higher aspect of your true self. Yeah. And it reaches down to meet you, and then you connect, and then you're able to open the highest in your own body, your own physical body. To release yourself from all of its automatic influences. Yeah.
Yeah, which reminds me, I wanted to ask you, somebody asked me about Christos. Does Phil believe in the Christos? And, what was it, Max? Maybe you can put your question in the chat to be more precise or concise about it, so he can give you a succinct answer. And, we can... Is there, in your opinion, is there a chemical that rises up through our bodies or through our chakras, or you know what I mean?
With chakra system is effectively, you're talking in physical terms about the endocrine system.
Yes.
The gland system.
Yeah.
So there's a physical manifest thing that is associated with the more ethereal chakra system, because it's considered to be ethereal. And not really quite physical as such. Right. It's a link to the physical from something from the higher up, as it were, but that would take a long time to explain in physiological terms, and I don't think I could do that at the moment.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about, just mention to you about crystals, because they deal with the flux of light. Crystals deal with. They change frequencies of light. If you put energy through a crystal, it will come out at different frequencies or different. For instance, with the piezoelectric crystal, if you put electrical energy into it, you'll produce mechanical energy.
Yeah, but I was talking about Christos, Christos, not crystals.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Christos.
I thought you said crystals.
No, Christos. The Christos. Some people say that there's a chemical that rises through your spinal cord or your endocrine system.
Chrism oil.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
Chrism oil. Yeah. That's associated with the Kundalini process.
And how does that fit into all this?
Oh, hello. Right. So your nervous system is the issue there. Normally, if you're doing Kundalini yoga, not that I've actually done it, but I gather this is the principle inside it. You're being still. To inculcate your higher chakras, you must focus on stillness, which is the nature of the highest, and that will bring it down towards you, as it were. It'll tune you into it, and that will raise your chakras. This is the idea, from the solar plexus upwards. And this inculcates the movement of the chrism oil, the physiological process in the body as well. I'm not an expert on the processes and ins and outs of that in particular, but you can get your head around the basic nature that there is a physiological process in the body that is timed, as well as a spiritual nature of connecting with something higher than you that links with that process.
Sorry to get you off on a tangent there. I just promised Max that I'd ask that question for him, and when you brought up the chakras, it reminded me. So yeah.
Right, that's what you mean. Yeah, that's okay. Christos, what would you know? Oh, I see, chrism oil. Yeah, it's not really an automatic thing, it turns out. Because some people who hear about Kundalini will think that they just have to do Kundalini yoga. And that's all they have to do, and it doesn't have to worry about God, and they'll open their third eye, and they'll become masters of reality. You know, I'm afraid that can't happen. The only person who can open your third eye is God inside you, that allows you to understand oneness in the first place. Because it's the understanding that opens the pineal gland, and you can't understand until you meet it.
Right. And that understanding, I'm a little bit confused on where your heart fits into all this too. You know what I mean? Where you're,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, focusing on stillness mentally allows you to find heaven, which is at rest. And of course, God, the highest spirit, is in heaven. It's the home of God, as it were. So if you tune into heaven, you can tune into God. And when God enters you, you can only understand the infinite divine in your heart first.
Okay.
This is the issue of Adam and Eve, in the story of Adam and Eve, in that Eve is the secret of the heart, and that she rises and raises her understanding of the divine love, if you like, raises that to the brain and gives the understanding to the brain, so that intellectual insight can be gained from that understanding. And that's when the light of wisdom shines. That's when Eve becomes Sophia, in a sense. You know, there's a lot to say. I'm talking in sort of symbolic language here, in a way, and I'm referring to the actual physical nature of your body, because the flame of God starts in your solar plexus and rises to your throat. So it's filling up these higher chakras. And then it's up to you to open the chakra that's above the throat. Yeah, and then it opens the top of your head as well. And that is when Eve has given her the wisdom, her wisdom to Adam. Adam is the light of the pineal gland as well. It's not a person. It's a reference to the main principles of the cosmic being. Yeah, Adam and Eve are the two aspects of the cosmic being, known as Brahman in Hinduism, or Adam Kadmon in Kabbalah.
Yep, that's what I know it as, Adam Kadmon. Yep.
Right. So Adam Kadmon is Adam and Eve together in unison. Yeah.
Awesome. And that's the alchemical wedding, making the two one again, right? I mean, that's what.
Yeah, that's right. The understanding of unification comes through into your heart first, because you fall in love with the divine. It's not an intellectual experience. You're not thinking about anything. It's about being only. There's no thinking. It's just being, and being in fullness. And that understanding becomes apparent in your mental understanding of it. And then you manifest the understanding of oneness, to generate ascension or creation. Yeah.
So it's a feeling first and not a thought.
That's right. That's right. It's an awareness of being, in stillness. That's what it's. That's how you find heaven. You become still in your mind. Heaven is at rest, so you match that condition, and you tune into it and become one with it as a result.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
That's right. And then, of course, the event of ascension is the principle of mentalism. That's the Hermetic principle that we're reading about here, that is being told to us by this person who turns out to be, let's find out who he is, because it was written by a person, even though it is supposed to have been written by an author who nobody knows about. It turns out it is quite a well-known author. His name is William Walker Atkinson. Okay, there he is. You see my screen?
Yeah, does he have a pen name called the Three Initiates? I mean, I thought that's why they called it the Three Initiates, because they didn't know who wrote it. Right? Or am I confused? Can you hear me? You're breaking up.
Can you? Yeah, I just froze there. I think my computer's getting a bit hot. I'm going to get a bag of peas now.
That's funny.
Did you see that guy here, the William Walker Atkinson? Yeah, he's responsible for writing quite a few occult books around the 1908, 1909 period. Thanks.
Is that the same era as Manly P. Hall? I mean, is that when Manly P. Hall was running the circuits?
Basically, yeah, Manly P. Hall came out of that era. Yeah, into the 1920s was his heyday, I think, Manly P. Hall, the 1920s, 30s, 40s. I'm not a great expert on his life, but he was a really good person to come out of the occult world, Manly P. Hall. I trust what he says. He knows, he gets it.
Yeah.
And he's one of the only people who gets it at an intellectual level. It's quite rare, I've found, because people tend to make things up and jump to conclusions like Mr. Atkinson, who would tell you that the Hermetic principle of mentalism is explaining that you can manipulate matter around you when you can't. You can't do, because it's automatic. So he misunderstood that principle. And now everyone online is talking about it as though someone somewhere has mastered you can have the most amazing life you want because of this Hermetic principle. And if only they could work it out, and they're going to watch 10,000 videos to try and get their heads around it. But no one's actually doing it because it's impossible.
Okay.
Yeah. There's an example of wasting your time online. You know, people who waste their time with principles that sound magical and too good to be true that really are.
Right. Well, I was guilty of it too, because, you know, I thought there was some weight behind the Kybalion.
There is some weight behind the superficial explanations of the general principles. We'll look at another one in a second about correspondence, because that's really important to recognize that you're not being told the true nature of correspondence in the Kybalion. You're getting a superficial, easy to interpret and apply version of the principle, let's say. Okay, so let's have a little look at the Kybalion itself and go back up. Mental transmutation is a bit of a nonsense, as I've just explained there. I want him to go on to, I didn't realize this book hadn't fully downloaded. Okay, here it comes. Let me go back to correspondence. Here we go. Yeah, notice that the first principle is mentalism. That gives the impression that all is mind, but really what's going on there is the abyss is being produced by mentalism. And that leads to correspondence, because it produces the light. The light is the creator, the alpha, and it's the result of the process in the cosmos as well. So the correspondence principle is between the two ends of manifest creation, the alpha and the omega. That is the correspondence in the Hermetic principle. That's the
you can consider those the dual opposites too, right? I mean, the ultimate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is confusing, because you can interpret the creator as the devil, and as the pineal light, it's the redeemer, and they are complete opposites in that sense, even though it's the same thing. You know,
and that's making the two one again as well.
Yeah. Effectively, yeah. Everything becomes one at that point. It's the most important crossing point there is, obviously, between heaven and earth, or heaven and hell. You're going to have the most important singular place. It's a place that's defined in an undefinable infinite space. Yeah. Where, of course, you have to ask the question, if there's an infinite space called the abyss, where is the center?
The center of all things, in our heart, right?
Effectively, yeah. Your heart and mind becomes the center of the abyss. Yeah. Kind of like that, yeah. But you're generating the heart and mind of the cosmic being that is eternal, because that light never dies. And the cosmos, having 7 kingdoms, becomes the heart of the cosmic being. Notice the heart has 7 layers of muscle. So the physical human being is made in the image of the cosmic man.
That's beautiful.
Which is what the Genesis is telling you. Let us make man in our image. Is not aliens creating humans, even though they may well have manipulated humans in the ancient past. What you're hearing about in Let Us Create Man in Our Image is the cosmic being is being reproduced over and over again in the cosmos. As Krishna says, my action is creation, and the bringing forth of creatures. It's the bringing forth of creatures that they are following the pattern that's generated by that cosmic being.
And in the end, that's the principle of gender, which means generation or regeneration, right?
Yeah, the duality that is already prevalent with the light and the abyss. They have a dual relationship, being a finite and an infinite thing. The light is finite, the abyss is infinite. So there is an immediate duality at the fundamental level of manifestation. Therefore, everything will be dual, and duality itself is gender, effectively. It's just that when you look at it at the material level with particles, atoms, and molecules, you're not thinking about sexuality. You're thinking about just opposite charge. So it's gender at a very simple level. Only when you get to biological systems do you see the manifestation of gender at the sexual level.
Right.
Yeah.
But and that right there, you just cleared up something big for me when you said that the light is the finite and the abyss is infinite. You know.
It is. Yeah.
And essentially, there's a male and a female principle as well. I mean, the divine male and female principle.
Yeah, being an androgynous thing, it can be taken as a male, being at the top of your phallic nervous system, and it can be taken as a female because it's a manifest thing. And all manifestation is basically female.
Yep. All physical manifestation, because God is the male.
Yeah, only in terms of their relationship between spirit and matter. It's just an expression of the relationship between those two.
Okay.
So that we can relate to it intellectually and get our heads around it, and relating it to things that we are familiar with. Yeah, your mum and dad.
That's I think it's in John, or is it the Gospel of Thomas, when he says that all things born of flesh are of flesh, and spirit is born from spirit, or right?
Spirit born from spirit is the pre-ascension moment of meeting the divine. Yeah, that spirit, when it enters you, it rebirths you as spirit. That's right. Okay. Yeah, when you make the abyss, you have become spirit, unneeding of anything physical anymore, quite literally. Yeah, so you're born again as spirit. That's right. I want to talk about the correspondence principle. When you here it is. Okay. This is what I hear repeated over and over again by everybody online, as though they've mastered this principle. That the principle of correspondence embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. The old Hermetic axiom ran in these words: as above, so below; as below, so above. So you could interpret that immediately as the cosmos is like fractal. You know, at the small level, you have atoms where electrons go around the nucleus, and at the larger scale, you have a solar system where planets go around a star. So you could just say, well, as above, so below is a way of corresponding at the atomic structure to the solar system structure. And if you're only intellectual about it, you could say, well, that's all it's saying. It's simply recognizing that the same pattern repeats itself over and over again. But when you go further and deeper into that, you realize that there's a single pattern that is from the very small to the very large. It's the same pattern. It's a single loop that starts and ends with the same thing. It's self-defining. That's really the main principle of correspondence, in that the beginning and the end is the same.
I think I made a statement in my last video about the correspondence, and I wanted to get your take on that. And I think it was something to do with correspondence is as above, so below means that it's speaking to the fractalization of how the below relates to the above, and you know do you know what statement I'm talking about there? I can't even remember exactly what I said, but
kind of, yeah.
I think that's why you're bringing this up, actually, right?
I'm bringing this up because the Kybalion doesn't tell you about the creator. It only applies within the bounds of the creator and the pineal light. Everything is talking about the system in creation being the same pattern repeated at different scales, basically, which is fine. It's okay. But the true principle of correspondence has its essence in the fact that the creator is at the beginning and the end of that system. And it should be highlighting that for you to start with. As well as elucidating the fact that you have the same patterns repeated over and over again from different scales, which it's talking about. But it's not telling you about the light. It's not telling you the really interesting things that would associate with these principles in the first place. You know, it is selling short, basically. It's selling you short, and it's already given us a mistaken interpretation of mentalism, in that you cannot affect the universe, I'm afraid. There are no magic wands that you can wave over somebody to suddenly fix them. It doesn't work like that, as we all know.
But I mean, if the world's rife with negative and nepotism and whatnot, I mean, isn't that going to affect the world? I mean, isn't that going to affect everybody's mindset in the world?
Whatever you expose yourself to can affect you in various ways. It depends how immune you are personally. You can be very affected by something somebody else says, or you can completely ignore it, depending on your level of wisdom, I suppose,
Okay, so what say you to the 100 monkey effect then?
That's a different issue. That's the collective unconscious you're dealing with there. Putting things into the collective unconscious can have a very subtle effect at that level, but it needs to be reinterpreted into people's conscious waking mind as well. They might only dream about something, and that affects them. People are affected by very subtle things as well that come into their mind. And not everything that comes into your mind is generated by you individually. You may have an influence around you, or a relative of yours coming to you to share a thought with you that you think originates from your mind. Right. But it may not. It may not. There's all sorts of things that could happen there, An angel may come into your presence and give you a thought that will inspire you to change the direction of your life, for instance. Somebody in physical life might even do that. Just say something and you get it, and you think, oh, I need to do this instead. I thought I was supposed to be doing that, but now I realize I need to do that.
Well, that was like the day I ran across your channel.
Oh, right.
I was like, wow, Right. So, yeah. But you do know what the 100th monkey effect is, right? I mean, both the monkeys on the island, and
the monkeys that weren't physically near the monkey that found a new skill automatically seemed to know the skill.
Yes.
Independently. Yeah, that's right. There was a lot of experimenting with that in the 1990s with meditation groups, I remember. I was following a guy called Paul Jenkins, he was an English guy, and they were doing things like that. They got a certain number of people to meditate at the same time with the same thought, to put it out into the mental environment of the earth to see if it would affect people. And I think things like that have had their effect. People are getting, hang on a minute, there is spiritual. Yeah, you see that a lot, even though they don't become experts at it overnight. We're all grasping, we're all trying to figure things out. But I think a lot of these groups in the last 20 or so years have had an effect that has been positive. So I believe in the 100th monkey principle.
Yeah, they say like 3% of the world's population, if they get to jump on board with the same thought, isn't that the same as all is mental, though? You know what I mean? Doesn't that manipulate the physical world in essence? Is what I'm getting at here.
Well, if you think about it, the only time the physical world is manipulated is when you have a physical action from your thinking.
Right.
Yes, it's not your thinking that directly affects the world. Your thinking directly affects your behavior, which then affects the physical world, because you're a physical being.
Yeah, you got to think about making a sandwich before you make it, and then when you make it, that's the manifestation of your thought.
Bingo, there you go. Yeah, you can't click your fingers and have the sandwich right in front of you ready-made, because no one's made it.
What if you wiggle your nose like Samantha?
You can try. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't think it's working.
No.
But thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah. There was something else I wanted to show you from the wiki on the Kybalion, because it mentions a group of people that are based in Utah that have made a pyramid. Hang on, let me find them here. They're called Summum. Where is it?
And maybe we could go over like the pyramid and how bricks relate to information, how clay relates to information, how bricks relate to what is it?
Funnily enough, this thing I'm going to show you now helps you get your head around the simplicity of that as well. Okay. If you have a look at this, it says there is derivative works. There are different people writing on similar subject lines to the Kybalion. Like Doreen Virtue wrote a book that is very similar to the 7 Hermetic Principles, which she called it the 7 Sacred Secrets of Manifestation. This idea. Another loosely derivative work down here has emerged from an esoteric organization by the name of Summum, which, considering the Kybalion to be antiquated and incomplete, they've noticed the Kybalion is not complete, which is basically what I'm saying. Incomplete rewrote the text to incorporate a grand principle, their principle of creation. That's interesting. So I immediately looked these people up. Summum describes this as the foundation underlying the existence of the all and the source from which the 7 principles emanate. That I can relate to that. So here they are. Oh wait, sorry, here they are on Wikipedia. So I looked them up. And it says, Summum is a religion and philosophy that began in 1975 as a result of whatever. Okay, fine. Somebody claimed to encounter beings he described as summer individuals. I wouldn't know whether that's true or not. Sounds a bit weird, but who knows? They go on to say, very interestingly, that let me find out where it says this, because it gives you the same principle as the pyramid principle of developing your thinking. Hang on a sec. Here we go. Right, so Summum, I'm here. Can you see where the cursor is?
Yep.
My little cursor here, right. Summum
states, yep.
Yeah, that his teachings are the same as the teachings of Gnostic Christianity, and maintains that knowledge does not come from things such as the intellect or obedience or faith, but from revelatory experience. That's really interesting, because that's basically what I went through. That there would be periods, long periods of no insight. You know, you're learning this, learning that, and you find something, and suddenly something opens in your brain or your mind. You realize something, and then it's like a new plateau you've reached. Where you're not.
Yeah, I've experienced that myself. Just know, not quite the alpha part of it, but yeah.
Right. So if you're gonna have more of those, and of course they lead to the highest. So what these people are saying is basically the same issue as the concept of gathering clay to make diamonds or to make a diamond, because what you're doing there is gaining information that reveals or gives you openings of revelation. Sudden understandings where you go, oh my God, I see, I get it. Yeah. Something just falls into place. And then you're on that plateau now for a while. And then something else falls into place. And you feel like you're rising higher, you know? So there's the principle, the same principle as building your pyramid, as simply stated by this concept here, that knowledge doesn't come from things such as the intellect alone or obedience or faith, but from revelatory experience. You have to experience and think together in conjunction. They work together. Yeah.
Yeah, and is that, in your opinion, is that the reason for physical manifestation, is for that experience?
Yeah, I mean, you could say the cosmos is an automatic generation anyway, and it doesn't have a mind to want to give you any experience. But really, it's a generation of the light, in that the light is trying to recreate itself. See,
And
if it
pretty much
generates,
using us as a treadmill to do so.
yeah, it's kind of, yeah, you can imagine the creator on a treadmill, and the treadmill is the cosmos, and he's trying to make himself, but he can't because he himself is eternal. Only God can make that which is eternal. Being a physical thing, he can only make that which is transient. So the best he can do is make a human being with an ego. That's it. That's the best he can do. And he's got his fingers crossed.
Oh, there you go. Now we're getting somewhere. So that's where the whole Gnostic demiurge concept comes from, and the whole, yeah, okay. Now I got it.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to raise, I don't know whether you were aware that, but in the ancient past in Egypt, the pharaoh would ceremonially go to the river Nile and masturbate into the river.
Yeah.
Did you, right, you're familiar with that?
Yeah, we've talked about this before, I think. Yeah. That's pretty wild.
Right.
And that was symbolic of the same thing, right?
That is symbolic of what I'm just about to show you. Hang on a sec, let me get it. Yeah, there you go. Let's call this up.
So did you figure out what the right hand means yet, Phil?
What do you mean?
You know, how all the scripture says that the right hand of God, and, you know, remember when we were talking about that?
Yeah. You find yourself at the end of his right hand. Okay. It just so happens that the cosmos is generated only in that place. If you look at it here, can you see my cursor moving?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is a single beam that ends with the cosmos at the end. Therefore, this beam is the phallus of the creator God masturbating into the cosmic ocean, into the abyss. This is his semen now in these terms. So that the pharaoh is commemorating this event by masturbating into the Nile. He's saying that he has his phallus that is generating by itself creation. Yeah, that's the cosmos. That golden egg is the cosmos. It's the cosmos.
Yeah, it's the egg, the cosmos, the seed, right?
Yeah, because the whole cosmos in one go, the whole cycle, the principle of the cycle that the cosmos is pursuing is encapsulated there. And that's what the pharaoh is commemorating by masturbating into the Nile. He's basically saying, I understand the principle of creation, that the creator has a single arm that ends with the cosmos at the end, with creation at the end of it. So you can take that arm to be the creator's phallus that is emanating semen at the end. Yeah, he's basically masturbating into the infinite abyss, which is like an ocean, like the river Nile is representing it in a sense, you know, the cosmic waters of Nun.
Right. Have you ever noticed when you look at Egypt from afar, from, you know, like on Google Maps or Google Earth, it looks like a pharaoh's inside right profile from the Nile, you know, and then you see the delta looks like the pharaonic headdress.
Oh, yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I see it in terms of a lotus plant, always.
Yeah,
that's what I
that
see.
Too. Yep.
Yeah, so that's what I've got in my head, you know, and it's automatic that I'll think of the lotus plant expanding into the open sea above it. With the Great Pyramid is at the point of expansion where the Nile Delta expands out. So
and in relation to the like I just said, how it looks like a pharaoh, that's right where our pineal gland would be too, right? I mean,
right. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Just like the king's chamber in the pyramid is in reference the same in the center of it's the eye in the triangle, right? Yeah.
It does it. It's really highlighting God is thrice great with the Great Pyramid. You're seeing the same thing repeated 3 times. You can relate it to the chakra system as well, the internal chambers. If you look at the north-south view through the Great Pyramid, all the chambers inside line up vertically, as if it's a man standing inside the pyramid.
So why is there 8 surfaces to the pyramid? Subtle 8 surfaces, in your opinion?
Are you familiar with the number 9? The esoteric meaning of number 9 being completeness.
Yeah, as God
Right.
itself, right?
Right. So you can take 8 is directly relatable to the squaring of the circle mathematically.
Okay.
The Great Pyramid is the squared circle, effectively. That's the principle behind it. The simplicity of its principle is that it is squaring the circle. It's doing the impossible. It's finding the truth, which is apparently impossible.
It's funny how all roads lead you to squaring the circle
Yeah.
in esoteric meaning.
Yeah, if you look at the temple on the mount in Jerusalem, the classic description of it is that because it's 8-sided, the number 8, it represents the squared circle as well.
Also, it's the infinity symbol. Right.
Basically, yeah, that's right. That's right. You've got that connection as well. Absolutely. And then, of course, 9. Everything in the 9 times table adds up to 9.
Right.
So,
The vortex math principle, where 9 is the ineffable that it keeps it or encompasses it all. Right. I mean,
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
awesome.
I've got a book entirely devoted to the esoteric meaning of numbers. That's a fascinating book. I know a scientist wouldn't take it seriously, but I do
Well,
take
I've
it.
always been fascinated, especially with the number 9 and 333. You know that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
right.
it's part of my
I,
everyday life.
I don't know whether I mentioned before, but very interesting that the energy mechanics in the cosmos with the 4-stage process of the position, velocity, acceleration, and torsion. When you look at the components of those tensors, it turns out the last one, the torsion, has 27 components in 3 groups of 9, or 9 groups of 3.
It's the same as the Hebrew alphabet, isn't it?
That's right, yeah, which gives you these mechanics. It's a recording of these mechanics, the universal mechanics, the Hebrew alphabet,
Yeah.
and the cosmic cycle. It contains the most important information, some of the most important information there is, the Hebrew alphabet.
Yeah, it's wild that just one shape, and I think it's shadows of the one shape that create all the letters.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild. What's his name? Stan Tenen of the Meru
Stanton.
Foundation.
Yeah. Say again. The Meru Foundation.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
good info there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I took all that in from 1996 onwards, and it helped me the most, that information.
Do you think he's enlightened? Do you think he's completed the great work?
No, he's a logician. He's a logician. He's following his intellect and logic, what logic dictates, and he's also borrowing heavily from another logician called Arthur Young.
Okay.
Okay, so he's using Arthur Young's work and correlating it with Kabbalistic tradition, and it's working because Kabbalah is reality, and anyone else who finds out about reality is going to correspond with Kabbalah automatically as a result.
Right.
You know? Yeah. What else is there to show you?
Okay. Now, what I was getting at with how you had a diagram that related clay to information, and then the bricks that we make from the clay. What did you relate to bricks, and then what were the 2 others after that, and then the 5th was the diamond? I know that, but what were the 3 in between?
Yeah, the clay is information in terms of this revelatory experiential progression that the great work really is. So clay is information. It's the information around you that you gather from your experiences that you analyze in your own mind. And when you do that, you are making comparisons between them.
Comparison. Okay, that's the second one.
The comparisons of different information effectively is like making a brick, which is a comparison of 3 different length or proportions. Yeah. A brick has height, width, and depth.
And that can be attributable to the spiritual, mental, and physical, right?
You could look at it like that, as a completeness of a set of information data.
Okay. And then the next one after the comparisons is?
Yeah, with comparisons, you find proportion. You get a sense of proportion.
And that's what building the pyramid is is
The,
getting
the pyramid is your sense of proportion, and what it's doing is leading you to a single point of unification automatically. So that's a sense of proportion that you get. It's not just a random wacky building. It actually makes sense and has coherence. All truth leads to the same pinnacle, and that's the sense of proportion that the pyramid is giving you. Then
okay, and then the fourth is?
Yeah, the capstone represents the gaining of measure. When you gain measure from proportion, you have a realistic sense, a sense of reality that is genuine and not just made up. It's not just your wish or your whim or your opinion. It's reality that you discover aside from your own opinion. You know, it doesn't matter what you think. The truth will always be true.
That's what the flail and what is it? The crook and the flail represent in Egypt pictograms, right, or hieroglyphics. Is that
kind of, yeah. When you gain measure, you gain understanding. You gain full understanding of the truth. Then you are above the automatic nature that how can I say that? The truth berates you when you get it wrong.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So if you're holding a flail, it's as if you're saying, I am one with the truth because I can now berate you. The log has been removed from my eye, therefore I can judge correctly. So the flail says you are a judge.
Okay.
That's the principle, that you become a judge in righteousness because you know the truth. You know, that's a very simple nature of it. The crook is a representation of your heart. So the crook and flail are really the two keys to heaven, which is the heart and the mind.
Yep.
Yeah. The heart being the first place where you encounter divinity because you can't understand it intellectually first. Then it rises and gives you its wisdom into your head. That's the second key to heaven when your pineal gland opens. So, and those two keys are referred to as the flail and the crook in the Egyptian depictions.
Okay, yeah. So we gather information to make comparisons.
Yeah.
To create proportion.
To gain a sense of proportion, to know where
sense of proportion, awareness.
Yeah, and eventually this leads to your gaining measure. You have a really good understanding of reality then. And then you
measure, and then you're capped from above and essentially become a diamond.
Yeah, because gaining measure allows you to unify with the intelligence of divinity. It's not just being divinity. Divinity is about great intelligence as well. As Krishna says, the goal of all work is spiritual wisdom. Spiritual wisdom is understanding. Yeah.
And once you become like God, God finds you, or you become one with God, right?
Yeah. God falls in love with you. Yeah.
As you fall in love with God.
That's right. And when he comes, you fall in love with each other. Yeah. And you understand now the true nature of life, or of living, or of being, which is eternal. And you understand that. So now you're going to become a diamond yourself. You're going to become a walking, talking God.
Is that essentially the extreme version of that upwelling of goodness you feel when you do something for somebody? And you see the benefits of your labor, or the happiness you brought forth to them, or the advancements you encouraged in somebody. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I know.
Get this feeling inside you that just makes you feel really good.
I understand what you're saying.
Version of that.
To me, that sounds like the enjoyment of joy, just the joy of spreading understanding, knowing the benefit it brings. It's different to actually spending time in what you might call the divine state.
Okay.
When you're in the divine state, it's very difficult to communicate with anybody else, because it's very, very slow. Yeah. Stillness is where there is no will to move physically or engage physically, including with speech. So if I was in a divine awareness state now, we wouldn't be able to have a conversation. So there's no point in my being in that state when we're having these conversations, if you see what I mean.
No, I don't see what you mean. What do you mean by that?
Well, oh, okay. So if I go into the divine state, which is known as samadhi, I will not be able to communicate with you verbally. See, my mind will not be engaging the vocal speech that we have when we communicate.
Oh, the physical aspects of your existence.
Yeah, it will take me like 5 minutes to answer a question, and I'll be talking really slowly, slower than this, right? This is how fast, this is how slow you blink when you're in that state. It's like this.
You know that for sure. I mean, it's not just a perception.
No, it's not. It's a completely different mindset. It's a different speed. It's incredibly slow to the normal rate that we flow in our lives. It's incredibly slow. So if I sat in the park looking at the flowers around me in this state, I would get the sense that I'd been there for maybe half an hour, when in fact I'd been sitting there for, let's say, 13 or 15 hours or something.
Holy cow.
Yeah, this is the nature of samadhi. Time passes very differently into your perception, and you'll appear very slow to other people, incommunicado, basically. You won't be able to have a normal conversation, you know?
That sounds, yeah, I've been on some LSD trips that made me feel like that before. I'm serious, man. That's why I said, wow, you know? I swear to God, I sat somewhere for 6 hours, thought I was only there for 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
It was like I was doing everything in slow motion.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, what say you to people that take DMT? Do you think it's at all connected to the? I think I've asked you this before.
I've never taken it, so I really can't tell you. I don't know. I know they talk about it in terms of it's like that you can experience an expansion experience if you take DMT or something. I'm not sure because I've not taken it. I don't know.
Right. I've had a near-death experience, and it was like my brain blocked it out for some reason. I don't know why, but when I remembered that what I did was I realized it was a near-death experience. I thought I was dreaming, or I actually woke up in the physical experience, but I was above my body.
Wow. How long ago was this?
That was when I was 13 years old.
Oh my gosh.
I had my appendix burst on me.
Oh, you poor thing. Oh my gosh.
I'm still here.
Yeah, thank God. How did you take that psychologically?
Well, like I said, some reason something blocked it out. Well, I seen my guts, and I seen them sifting through my guts, and I woke up a day and a half later in the recovery room because they put me in a dopamine coma to help me heal. Yeah. And I didn't remember anything from this time where I thought I woke up on the operating table because I thought they didn't give me enough anesthesia. And so I thought I sat up. Well, it wasn't until 3 years ago when I started this spiritual journey that I'm on that I had a dream and realized I woke up that morning and I realized, wait a minute, I was above. I wasn't sitting up from the perspective of my eyes if I was sitting up, you know? Yeah. And that's when I went, whoa, Yeah.
So awareness is.
So my logical mind made me think that I sat up on the operating table and seen this, and I convinced myself that that's what it was.
Right, and yet awareness itself is timeless. Timelessness is awareness, but time is what you might call stuff, materials. Material stuff that awareness links with to use for its own benefit.
Isn't time a mechanism in which we contrived for keeping things separate in our minds?
It's for organizing definition, effectively.
Okay, that's a better way to put it, yeah.
It's for finding definition, it's the automatic system that allows you, it's an automatic teaching tool, nature, to help you find your own definition of your own ineffable self. And so it's there in your favor, in your benefit, for your benefit. the creation, even though it's harsh and indifferent. It's simply automatic. So
people are talking in the chat. Time exists or time does not exist. Time exists. I mean, right?
Both time and timelessness exist, or they coexist.
Yes.
Yeah, they coexist.
Without one, there wouldn't be the other.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and it turns out they are one and the same thing, effectively, expressed in two opposite states at the same time.
Just like everything else, right? I mean, everything has its yin and its yang.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Right. And that's the light and the abyss, the black and the white, the positive and the negative, the male, the female.
Yeah. But
on down the list.
When you take the dimensionless by itself, the idea of monad, there is no duality anymore.
That's when you marry the two, make them one.
Yeah, that's right. That's the understanding that opens the whole event for you. Yeah, yeah. There is no.
I wanted to touch on remember the Pluto thing and that whole revelation I had and that whole epiphany about how, and then it led me to the Godhead pictograph that you shared, or the hieroglyph that you shared with me, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately. How that is, that whole planetary alignment, conjunction, and all that, and how it relates to the Aeon cosmic God, time God.
Right.
I think. I mean, do you have an opinion on any of that, or have you looked at it anymore? Or?
I have a what would you call that? An overview, a simple overview, in the sense that I associate everything automatic with the creator. Its creation is automatic in every way, shape, and form. So when I was born into this life, for instance, I became a Virgo. I'm no longer subject to that, I feel, because the freedom you gain is the freedom from everything automatic that is around you in creation. So if creation is automatic, there are going to be automatic effects when things happen. Like when planets have alignments, there are going to be magnetic and gravitational effects as well that will affect the weather for a certain amount of time, or the plasma discharge of the planet, all this kind of stuff. But it all just comes under the umbrella of automatic. Everything in astrology, I feel, is an automatic consequence of there being cycles in time that are just automatically generating certain things. It's automatic for creatures to exist in the cosmos. The fact that there are planets and stars is automatic. Everything is automatic about it.
Is that the wheel within the wheel analogy, or the cycles within the cycle?
You can take an analogy like that, yeah. That particular passage in Ezekiel may not be about, just that, for instance, because in the Enuma Elish they mention the creator God is going to be causing tornadoes, and that's specifically a reference to galaxies, the nature of galaxies in the cosmos,
Right.
So it depends. It depends. Yeah, I've lost track of where we were, actually.
We were on the principle of rhythm. The original, what we were talking about, the Kybalion, and we just got through the correspondence version, or principle, and
yeah. Interesting that here, if you go to the second line down, he's talking about the swinging back and forward, which is like a pendulum movement. The pendulum swing, that constant ebb and flow of a pendulum, is exactly the principle behind Walter Russell's version of the cosmos and Itzhak Bentov's version as well. Both their books are based on that fundamental idea of a simple oscillation around equilibrium.
Isn't Penrose's version the same too? The in and the out?
Kind of. He focuses on linking the very large with the very small in a formal, rigorous manner that you won't find in the New Age. So he has to be very definitive, Roger Penrose, that you won't find in the New Age. I find that very useful, to be honest, because without definition, you're just making things up, basically.
Right.
Running on wishful thinking.
Well, his work is essentially what convinced me that it probably wasn't a big bang,
Right.
It's just a cycle of
Yeah.
ebb and flow, right? I mean, I put that together with the ebb and flow concept, the in and the out, the in breath, the out breath, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Talking about something as complex as the cosmos. On the one hand, it has a beginning and an end, and yet it's an eternally produced thing. So there is no beginning as such. The Creator is eternal in an eternal abyss that's infinite. Therefore, the cosmos never started at any particular point. But then you can talk about the beginning of creation in terms of having this ascension event, as if that is the beginning of it. But the beginning of it is a timeless moment, which is an infinite pulse, which always exists. So there is no time that you can say it began at. It's always there. It's simply always there.
So if we were to live 2 billion years, 2 trillion or whatever, we would experience the cosmos coming together if we looked out instead of expanding.
Yeah, it would take a lot longer than that. The Hindus have the cycles of time written down, how long
it takes. Or whatever.
Yeah, they call them the yugas. Did you just say yugas?
Yep, yugas. Yep.
Yugas. Yeah, they call them yugas. So they have the Brahma yuga, I think, is the time. If I remember rightly, it's the time that the cosmos takes a cycle. The explosion from, or the expansion from what we might call a white hole, and the shrinking back down to the black hole to come back out of the white hole again. You could say that there are moments when there is no cosmos because it's all been sucked into a black hole condition, which is timeless.
That's the singularity, the 0 point, the center of all things.
Kind of, yeah. It would probably be at the end of the Creator's right arm again, but that whole subject needs to be divulged. It needs to be looked into in greater detail because I've only just started with that.
Oh, okay.
Recently got to that and realized, okay, there is a process at the end of this right hand. And recently I've had a break from thinking about this because you can start to feel a bit sick. Because the light is so strong in my head and my brain feels like a rock. If I spend too much time thinking about this stuff without breaking away or coming away from it, I might feel sick and mentally as though I need a break. You know,
is that where you've been?
Yeah. I've had to have a break from it recently because I've been on it for 4 years, and I didn't have a break before that. I've been on this great work for so long. I've been focused on it for so long. It's very rare for me to break away and to think, well, I need to have a break. I need to go on holiday because I haven't done that for so long. You just get used to the things you do and you just carry on doing it. So I've had a 2-week gap now where I haven't spent too much time on it.
Well, good for you, man. Good for you.
No, thank you.
You're trying to regenerate there at home too, so you need to relax, right?
Yeah, I need to remember to relax. Yeah,
yes.
I get too caught up in thinking, because I want to solve all these problems because I know that humanity needs to hear it. And if I drop dead tomorrow, I won't get the chance to say this or that, that kind of thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
I know exactly what you mean.
I know not.
I want to find out before I drop dead too.
Yeah. I don't know what effect this is going to have. What I'm saying, I don't know, and I don't know if any of these angels are going to recognize any of this stuff. If they're going to come to me, because not a lot has happened in the last 4 years, and I feel like I've just been training. I call it training. Over the last 4 years, and I've got to a point where I don't need to be trained on that stuff anymore. So I'm breaking away and having a break. It's a good time to have a break. Yeah.
Right, and I mean, so to touch on the angels aspect, you've kind of skirted around that question a couple different times about angels and their role in helping us, and you know what I mean. And can you touch on that a little bit, or?
Yeah, if you recognize there are trillions and trillions of angels, it's a normal state for a creature to achieve once they've been through the automatic cosmos.
That's what makes angels is the divine union, the rising above or the ascension above the demiurge or the creative light.
That's right. That's correct. Yeah, and it's no longer a state of slavery. It's a state of freedom from which you can manifest and create what you want, basically. But obviously, you're not in a childish state anymore. So what you manifest and create and engage yourself in is going to reflect what kind of person you've become. So if you become grounded and realistic and based in truth, which is nice and still, and fundamentally solid, reliable, there's all these qualities about it that have to be realized to know what kind of state an angel is or is in. And what kind of things they would be doing,
What's your opinion on Bill Donahue saying that angels are angles of light?
Oh, I see. I think he makes some conclusions that are somewhat slightly lacking. Every now and then he'll have a conclusion like that, because I understand the word angle in terms of angel as pertaining to the golden mean section as it appears in a pyramid.
Yeah, okay.
Because as an angel, you become a diamond is an angel, or an angel is a person who's become like a diamond, metaphorically. And their internal pyramid has the golden mean section in it, because finding the center of all things is finding the mean, or the middle between the infinite and the finite, which is defined as the golden mean section. Therefore, the pyramid will contain the golden mean section, to suggest that the central point that is found from making a square has now risen from the tomb of matter to the fifth element. You become a god.
You hear that, Aaron? Yeah, because Aaron, my buddy Aaron, Australia Esoterica, he was stuck on the number 5, and
right,
he inherently knew that it was related to the pyramids.
Yeah, so if you grab the center of a square as a central point and raise it to the right angle, you are an angel.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful, dude.
Do you see what I'm saying? There you go. That's the relationship between the idea of an angle and an angel. It's to do with the pyramid and the golden mean being the Christ, or the middle path or middle way between the finite and the infinite.
Which is also one and the same as the eye and the triangle. Yeah,
basically, yeah, that's right. You've found the middle at the center of all things, yeah. You've defined. Yeah, it's also, you could also say you've tied a Gordian knot to a post.
Yeah, I was looking into the symbolic meaning of the Gordian knot and all that, and that's pretty wild that you just brought that up.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same principle. So the light, the creator light, is the Gordian knot.
And if you pull a square up in a 3-dimensional or 4D manner, it would make the 8-sided thing too, wouldn't it? Because it'd be sucked in on the sides, right? I mean, like the shape of the pyramid is.
You lost me. Sorry, you lost me there, man. What was that?
I don't know. I had one of them layman epiphanies where, the physical, where I'm just envisioning pulling up if you pull up in the middle of a square, make a pyramid out of it, it would suck in the sides and make an 8-sided pyramid.
I see what you mean. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
That's just one of those moments, I guess.
That's all right. Yeah, you're squaring the circle as well. That's the principle there as well.
Mm-hmm. So, meaning that the finite, the infinite exists within the finite, and I mean,
they become. You found the link between the two, where they are both the same. Yeah, yes. The point at which they are the same thing. So there's only one thing at this point. Yeah, it's the unification point.
Wow.
The crossing point of all things. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. It's really interesting how it's quite simple in a way as well, I find.
Isn't it crazy how the simplest things in life are the hardest to explain, though? It's like trying to explain what magnetism really is, or
right. That's right. It's very difficult. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know what else to show you. Anything else you wanted to go over?
I wanted to ask you a couple things about what was it? It had to do with the planes of existence and stuff like, when they're talking in the Kybalion about that, the plant planes, and there's these many planes and these many planes here and these many planes there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hang on 2 seconds. I'm going to find. Was it here? Here we go. You see the screen? Where my cursor is.
Yep.
So it says, here we go. The principle of correspondence expresses the idea that there is always a correspondence between the laws of phenomena of the various planes of being in life. As above, so below, as below, so above. This principle states that there is a harmony which can be made agreement and correspondence between these planes, delineated as the great physical plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane. So let me show you what those are. Let me grab. Is it in here? There you go. Show me. Okay. Here are those planes. So I've written here on the top left, it says God. That is a spiritual plane that has just been mentioned, the dimensionless plane. Then you have space, which is the mental plane, effectively, the great mental plane. And then we have the cosmos, which is the great physical plane. So the Hermetic concept, the three major planes of existence are right here in this diagram. And they also exist in this diagram. It's just another way of showing it to you. So up above is dimensionless, the spiritual plane. Then we have the abyss, which is the mental plane, physically referred to as a scalar field. And then we have the cosmos, which is the physical plane. Notice their relationship is very different. Yeah, the cosmos is a tiny speck in an infinite void. It's right. It's almost insignificant. When you see it like that.
So the cosmos is newt, the space is noon, right?
Yeah. Space is the waters of Nun. That's right.
Yes.
So then in the Kybalion it says that each of these levels has seven delineations. And I have an issue when they start talking like that, because if you think of dimensionless heaven as having 7 separations, how can it when it's completely unified? It's simply that if its expression is that which makes the abyss the light, which also makes the cosmos, and that situation is of 7 kingdoms, in the timeless time relationship, in that they are both one and the same thing in different states, you can now talk about dimensionless heaven as having 7 aspects, simply because the manifestation from it has 7 aspects. Therefore, it must have that within its confines as well. It must have it in itself somehow.
Aren't those 7 aspects, the 7 houses of the Lord, the 7 Hermetic principles? I mean, isn't that in direct reference to all that?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Sometimes they call the kingdoms, the kingdoms are the 7 Hermetic principles as well.
Yeah.
They're exactly the same. They're just titled differently and referred to differently, but they are principles. The same principles. It's when you apply it to physical material only, and don't take in the mental aspect, of the human being. If you only apply it to the physical, you have the 7 kingdoms.
And why are all the numbers that we are fixated on prime numbers? Is that a coincidence in your opinion?
When you say numbers we're fixated on as prime numbers,
like 7 to 7 are not fixated, but I mean that are fact, are part of the equation of creation. Like the 3, the 5, and the 7.
Right. It automatically comes out of the natural structure of the Sephirot, the tree of life as it is, because it's defining a separation from a self. The tree of life. It's really just 4 points. But when you see it's 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, and 4 points, you're seeing the opening out of a procedure. You're seeing every stage of a single procedure. And the 4 points at the bottom is the totality of that procedure in itself. See, the 2 points below the single point at the top of the tree of life is
Yep,
the
Chakma and Bina. Yep.
Yeah, they are the single point opened out into a duality. They are not separate, and yet single point, a single nature by itself is timeless, but duality is timed. So even though they are the same thing, they are the same thing in different states that coexist as if they have a relationship now, even though they are one and the same thing. Timelessness and time together allows for this relationship and the construction that leads back to definition of your own ineffable self. The tree of life delineates that process in the simplest possible terms, and it automatically gives you a 7-stage process. Counting down 1, 2, 3, 4. If you go back up, you get 5, 6, 7. So from 4, you've got 7.
That's where the 4 and the 3 in like a serpent at Serpent Mound, and all of the serpent symbology you see everywhere. The curves in the snake, right? 4
and 3 is the fundamental pattern that's behind everything. I want to show you something actually. Now that you've mentioned that I've just remembered. This is really, really useful to see. Hang on. Let me open that up in this window here.
I remember what comes to mind when 4 and 3 comes up. It's a symbol of it's a hermetic symbol, and it has the globe on it.
Yeah. So you see the tree of life. You see the tree of life on the left here.
Yes, sir.
1, 2, 3, and 4 points relating to dimension. 0 point is 0 dimension. So that is pleroma. That's the fundamental dimensionless nature of heaven. Then we have the first creation of the infinite void with the light in it. And then we have the cosmos, which is created by that relationship. And then in the cosmos, we have the null 0 points that are generated as a result of torsion. So there you have 1, 2, 3, 4, the stages, the basic stages of the tree of life, giving us the totality of these 3 planes of existence that themselves can be broken down into 7 subunits, if you like. You can only think of the underworld with the light in terms of these 7 planes broken down, in the sense that the light, being the start and the beginning of the tree of life, has all 7 stages contained within it at the same time. So in the same sense that pleroma has the 7 nature contained in it at the same time, so does the underworld. Or you can talk about it in these terms.
The underworld being space?
Yeah, basically it is space. Yeah, there's nothing different. Of course, you can think of space as being physical and not mental. But when you expand and have ascension, you realize that the reason for the space in the first place was a mental expansion. Because all has come from God. It's God expanding. That's what gives us space, effectively.
That's what gives us measure, or right?
The ability to start measuring. Yeah. The light gives us the ability to measure, because I've basically measured everything from the perception of that light and its condition ever since I've seen it. And this is the result right in front of you. You know, I wouldn't have come up with this stuff had that not happened.
Yeah, when a layman comes across this, though, it just looks like a bunch of, without the explanation or the understanding of where it's coming from, it's quite hard to muddle through. Yeah,
that's right. And this model here conforms absolutely to the 4 worlds, as they're called, of Kybalion. If you look over to the left-hand side now, you've got the world of emanation associating with monad. The world of creation, of course, is the underworld where the creator lives, who generates creation. And then we have the cosmos that is generated, which is the world of formation, because it is full of forms and shapes. And in the cosmos, you have the principle of action that actually starts generating its way back to ascension. This is
the singularity, back to the one.
Yeah. That condition at the center of a galaxy is exactly the same condition as the outermost part of the expanding cosmos. They're both timeless. So if you hit one, you are effectively at the other. So if we flew into the center of our galaxy, we would instantly find ourselves on the outskirts of the cosmos itself.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. Because I think I've touched on this before with you. Do you remember where we're located in the galaxy? I mean, I remember when I was younger that we were on the outskirts of the Milky Way.
Uh-huh.
And now we're near 25,000 light years nearer to the center than I thought we were.
Oh, maybe their estimation in rigorous science has changed. You know, maybe they've got better ways of measuring that. I think they do. They've probably just relocated us slightly, but we're in a spiral arm of our galaxy. You know, there's no big deal about that.
Where does Orion fit into the whole thing?
What, in the spiral arm of a galaxy? I think.
No, where does Orion fit into the whole esoteric meaning to us? I mean,
it represents, in terms of all the constellations in the sky, Orion represents this cloud of light, this creator.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're the dog or Sirius looking at the light.
Yeah. Hang on, I'll show you that. I've got one version of that here to illustrate it. Yeah, here it is. Let me just open this up.
So is that why the pyramids were laid out in the belt of Orion?
Yeah, they're highlighting the center of all things, because Giza is at the center of all the world's land masses.
Yes.
So it's like focusing on this point on the planet, saying here is the center. We are defining the center of things as a metaphor for ascension, which is the definition of the center of the abyss. Orion has 3 belt stars that have a specific configuration. And when you look at the beams as they come out of the top, especially the top surface of this cloud, they're actually arranged in groups of 3. So you have 3 along the front, and then 3 in a row behind that, and then 3 again behind that, and then 1 by itself at the back. I studied these beams on the top on purpose and noticed their configuration. It instantly reminded me of the 3 belt stars of Orion, and then I realized that Orion was being used in the sky to represent the fact that the creator has a relationship with the cosmos that can be represented by the relationship between Orion and Sirius.
Yeah, that's it's also the Fool card, right? In the tarot.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So the Sirius and Orion together is like a code for saying ascension. You could just show someone a Sirius and Orion and know that if they knew what that meant, they would know that you're telling them about ascension.
Okay.
You don't have to say it. You know, you can just show them Orion, and they go, "Oh, okay, yeah, I know, that's the creator."
Okay, there's one other big issue with the Kybalion, how they say all is mind, and all is in the all, and you know what I mean by that whole statement. The all is in the all, and the all is all. Can you touch on that? I mean, is that accurate at all? I mean, no pun intended, but is that accurate at all? You know what I mean by that?
Then, give me 2 seconds.
And then Free Press 666 asks, but it brings up the holographic thing. Where does that all fit in? Do you have any insight on that, or?
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. I just want to show you. Isn't it? Yeah, I just want to show this on the screen. Yeah, okay. There's just another way of representing things, because when you read the Bhagavad Gita, you have a complete description of this as well, in that even the abyss, which is considered to be infinite in extent, is contained within the monad. So the monad, dimensionless nature, is ultimate. Its ultimate nature, and the abyss is a lesser nature. It's a lesser version of its infinite nature. So when you see that center there is effectively the cosmos with the light in its vicinity here. So when somebody says, "Is the cosmos a hologram?" You could certainly talk about it in those terms. Don't forget, it's an automatic, careless thing. Yeah, you can do whatever you like within its confines. It doesn't care. It doesn't care if you throw a brick against a wall. It's all inanimate stuff. It has no mind. So there's the issue of awareness, which is timeless, and physical stuff, which occurs in time. You could talk about it in terms of a hologram, but it's an interactive hologram, because normally you don't interact with the hologram. You just view it. You can't touch it. It's not solid. So the physical manifestation is like a solid hologram, in a way.
Right.
Yeah. You can compare it to a hologram. I don't see why you wouldn't.
Okay, and that brings me to keep your eyes to the cosmos, or what is it? Be mindful of the cosmos, but keep your eyes on your feet, lest you stumble by folly of your gaze upward, or whatever that Kybalion statement is, the axiom or whatever. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I think so. Yeah, I'd have to find that. Do you know where it is in the Kybalion? Is it towards the end?
I think it's right around where you're at, right there. I can't remember exactly where it's at.
Oh, really? Hang on. Let me get past those because it goes on to.
It's towards the end, I think, where the axioms, where they talk about the sayings of the Kybalion. And in your opinion, was it Hermes that wrote the Kybalion, or that the Kybalion's pulling all of its info from, or do you think he pulled that author pulled information from all kinds of esoteric knowledge, or you know what I mean?
He's to me, it's obvious he's being intellectual about the original corpus hermeticum, and he doesn't fully comprehend the nature of what we looked at in Poimanders before. Right. I mean, it took me 4 years to comprehend that after illumination as well. So that's how tricky it is. And the cosmic relationship is what you're being told about in Poimanders, and this author doesn't know about that, it seems. So he's superficially interpreting things, but he's doing his best intellectually. But intellectualism only has a limit, Right. I can see that this book is this Kybalion thing is limited, and it's intellectually limited. It doesn't have the insight. It's quite obvious to me that's the case. So the author was doing his best to sort of modernize Hermeticism and bring it to people, I think, in the best way that he could. I don't think he intended to bamboozle people. I think he was just trying to do the best that he could, and that's how he saw it. Yeah. But that's 1909. Things have changed. I understand the correspondence and the mentalism now, the actual real nature of them being the cause and effect of creation itself.
And speaking of that, the rise and fall of our civilizations, the ebb and flow of our cycle. I mean, you believe that there was a time in our past, or ancient past probably, that all knew this knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And it was taught to you.
That's right.
And somehow, some way, it was lost to us.
Yeah.
Is that part of the ebb and flow cycle of our existence?
Yeah, you could apply that to the yugas, the different the golden age, the Bronze Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, the Dark Age, which is what we're basically still in. I'm afraid it's the age of ignorance, where cynicism takes over and opinion is greater than the truth. This kind of thing. And here we are trying to reestablish the truth over arrogance, really. There's a terrible arrogance to science as well, and intellectualism in general.
Right, and a lot of defamation when you're coming out with pertinent information. A lot of people like to strike you down because they believe you're either passing judgment or acting like you're above them, or there's a lot of judgment involved.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's a whole mix of things going on these days. My God, I tend not to tell anyone that I'm telling them the truth point blank, because I just hope they can work it out for themselves. Normally when someone says, I know the truth, let me tell it to you, it means they don't. You know?
Well, inevitably, it's gonna. Your journey to God is a personal one, anyway, right? I mean,
yeah, that's right. That's absolutely true.
yeah.
It's,
I mean,
it's
the
you
events that bring you
following.
there are going to all be different. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally unique. Everyone has a unique journey.
that's what makes your higher self personal to you, which is, it's kind of odd that whole. It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around that everybody's higher self is the one, you
Yeah,
know,
that's right.
and
That's
people
right.
don't. I
That's
never
right.
got that until recently, when I realized, all is one. And isn't
Yeah.
that the oldest mantra known to man, is all for one, one for all?
Yeah, pretty much. It is, yeah. It takes for an experience of it to understand it. And it's all about understanding and becoming awake to it and aware of it yourself. It's all very well if somebody else knows it and they can try and convey it to you, but it is down to you to experience it, to know it. Otherwise, you can't know it. You must experience it.
So do you have angels around you that help you? Do you know that? Or, I mean, do you
Oh,
experience them, or, you know what I mean?
yeah. Funnily enough, somebody popped up last night when I looked out, because we finally got rid of our cloud cover and the stars came out last night. And the only moment I chose to look up and ask if anyone was there, they appeared in that moment. And I thought, oh, okay, they're saying hello. They just
What do you
reminded
mean
me.
they appeared?
Well, they often do this when I go out and look up. So they've been doing it more recently, that I'm awake, as it were. So last night it was flat, coming on really bright for 3 seconds and then disappearing in a nice steady place. They were almost directly overhead, quite high up. It was a vehicle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it switched on. It wasn't there before, and all of a sudden, as I'm looking, it switches on really bright, like the brightest star. It's still moving, and then it switches off after 3 seconds, as if to say, "We're here. Don't worry." It's a little hello.
If you were to have a camera, do you think you could get that physically on recording?
I think so. I'm not sure. They turned up the last 2 times in a red orb, and they came quite low and quite close.
Well, the reason why I'm asking you that is because that video on my front page of my channel of the Sun Runner offshoot. You've watched that, right?
I think I have. Yeah, it's been a while, so I can't remember.
And that was one of those moments where I was driving and I seen the sun and I decided to pull over. I pulled my phone out and it was that fast, and it was 45 seconds of wow, and then it was gone.
Right. I don't know if I can capture that on my phone, for instance. I don't think my phone is good enough. I don't really have much in the way of equipment. So I don't know if I could really record that. You'd need to see the background stars not moving to know that this object is moving. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know if my phone can register that. I've tried and it doesn't look very good at all. So I don't bother recording it. And they often catch me by surprise. I don't expect them, and then they turn up when I'm not expecting it. But I'm still looking, thinking, it'd be nice to say if you came and said hello. And then they do, and it's like, I haven't got my camera. Can you hang about?
Can you come back?
No, they're gone. All right, because it would cause a lot of issues if they came any closer or did anything more. I feel it would cause an issue for me, because I wouldn't be able to stop thinking about that, and I'd want to
Propagate it again.
I'd want to what's the word? Indulge more in that. The closer you get to them, the more exciting it is. Do you see what I mean? And you don't want to come away from that. You don't want to have a lesser experience and not see them again.
So in our ethereal angelic form, we are balls of light, orbs of light, is what you're saying?
I didn't say that, but you just mentioned it.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get out of you. I'm trying to wrench out of you. What is an angel to you? You know what I mean?
An angel is someone who, in very simple terms, it's somebody who's awake to reality. That's an angel. Somebody who actually knows reality from personal contact with divinity.
Okay, yeah. But I asked you if you see angels around you, and you brought that up. No.
No, no, no. That's the what I call cosmic gardeners. But angels, well, they're actually here in physical form, as people on Earth. So I don't need to be ethereal.
Oh, okay.
You see what I mean? So they're all here already. There's thousands of them. I'm sort of waiting and seeing how this is going to play out, because they're starting to come out and say, by the way, I'm an angel. I know you're not going to understand. So there's a dichotomy between them and regular people who can't relate to what they're saying.
Have you had people reaching out to you and saying that to you recently?
Yeah. That's been going on for the last 3 or 4 years. I've related to a few of them. Emails, we talk to each other on email sometimes. But what can you do? You've got to get on with your life as well. And once you realize that it's actually real, that other people are recognizing it in themselves, you feel quite satisfied about it, and you simply look to see how it's going to play out. Yeah, in the natural world, because some of them are going to be born into prominent positions, and they're going to be starting to make a difference.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, people like me are there to help educate with the depth of understanding. To catch those who need to understand better, and they're not getting their answers from their religion or something.
So what makes me privileged enough for you to want to talk to me?
Anyone who asks with an open, honest attitude, I will talk to. There's no two ways about it. It's as simple as that.
I appreciate it very much, sir.
Yeah, so do I. I appreciate anyone asking anything. I get the impression in general that very few people are interested in these kind of things. So I'm happy when somebody is.
And do you know, Aaron Johnson asks, do they know they are angels?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it might take a little while for you to remember. It took me a while. I was suspicious for a good 20 years without having confirmation, and then I got the confirmation. So I realized that my suspicions before, even though it seemed like airy-fairy, me making things up to myself, it turned out to be true, and that's the reason I was thinking about those things. So the people who are angels will know about it. They'll be suspicious of it, that they're different, they'll feel different, and then they'll start to realize why.
And that feeling comes with experiencing the light? I mean...
No, it's from having gone through all the system of creation before, and then coming back into it by choice through compassion makes you feel different about when you're in a life. You feel as though you've already done it. And that you
that's why I'm kind of probing this question with you, is like me, for instance. I've always, felt like there's way more to life than what we're told, or what we experience here. And
right. So
I think that, so when you're an angel and you decide to come back to this creation, your mind is wiped, or your memory is wiped of that. Is that what's the reason behind all that?
Yeah, because you have to operate with a psyche from scratch. You have to get rid of you kind of drop your status. To re-enter into this situation, you have to drop your status. You have to give up your status.
You have to become a fool again.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You have to start from scratch again, yeah. But because you've already done it, it's in your Akashic record, so you will have lots of prompts and dreams and help in your life to get you back to your status as quickly as possible. Yeah, it's on this planet that there's so much distraction that a lot of them get put off from that procedure, and they think that because they were angels before, maybe that they're an angel now. But the problem is their psyche is not eliminated, that they're using at the moment. So some of the stuff they get through might be not succinct or defined enough, and they might make mistakes. So you might find an angel who is in physical form is going along with the Zachariah Sitchin version of reality, when they haven't refined their understanding of the difference between a god and an alien, or a
cosmic gardener,
or a historical event concerning Mars and Earth, or a metaphorical storytelling device.
Nibiru and Planet Nine and all that stuff is pretty much.
Well, as we said,
it's weird that word is what triggered me. Going, what the hell is this? What's going on with this? Why does that word grab me so much? And it was that word that set me on the path to talking to you today.
Right. So you may have been in Babylon in the ancient past. You may have experienced that, and now you're back. To reestablish some reality in this place, in this zone. And we're all doing it effectively. You have to start with knowing for yourself reality. Therefore, all of us are going to be engaged in that to some extent. So a lot of us are going to be researchers or researching, like you.
So do you think there's like the Dark Brothers, or like Thoth speaks of in the Emerald Tablets, how there's a dark faction and a light faction, and that's the yin and the yang essentially. I mean, is there something always opposing your knowledge in the energy form?
No. All you've got in my mind, all you've got are people who know and people who think they know.
It's beautiful.
The people that think they know are the intellectuals and the ones who love their own opinion of themselves, and they love to force their particular comfort the version of what is comfortable for them on other people, and they're scared of anything higher. It depends on the individual. So some people love the idea of being in a secret society because it's exciting and interesting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They love the drama. They like the drama of the position they're in, or they like to feel higher and more important than other people. That's just an aspect of ego.
And Aaron wants to get a little clarification. So they know they are different and awake, but do they refer to themselves as an angel or maybe a medium, etc.? Meaning, do they like the psychics or the real mediums?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on them individually. Some of them won't like to talk about the fact that they know that they're an angel. I mean, you can see a lot of them on YouTube. A lot of people on YouTube are making videos about this. And they're saying, look, I'm coming out of the closet. I've known this for years. This is what I am. I don't know how I know that, but I know that I am this, and I know what to do. There's a lot of people online now doing that, I've noticed. So they are coming out. And
I've often thought that the culture, like this culture, there's certain people that are in my reality on YouTube all the time, that are on the same, the same wavelength or same thought processes. I've often thought that this is the media, the place or the environment for people to come together and realize that in essence, I think.
Yeah, sure. It's also a place for people to indulge their fantasies as well,
Yes.
Unrealistic fantasies as well. There's it's the indulgence of all sorts. But the more we do it, the more refined we get at it, and the more refined the information and the understanding becomes. So it's a good thing anyway, even if they make mistakes. It's still a good thing to interact like this and to develop like this, because it does refine our understanding of what we're all going on about, and it helps us.
That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So it's always a good idea.
Well, it's been 2 hours, my friend.
Yeah. My God, already.
What time is it there?
It's 1 a.m. here.
Holy cow, dude. Wow.
What time is it at your place, sir? Is it 6 or 7?
It's only 7 o'clock here, so.
Oh, yeah. You need to have some dinner.
Yeah.
You need to eat.
You guys have dinner at 7 o'clock at night?
I do. That's my normal time to eat. Yeah, about 7-ish. Yeah, p.m. Yeah.
I think the status quo in America is 5 or 6 dinner time.
Really?
Yeah.
The old way in England is 5:30 dinner time.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I never used to follow that.
All right, my friend. Hey.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't want to hold you any longer, man. I mean, there's plenty of I'd like to ask you, but I mean, we'll just save it for the next time.
Okay. Yeah,
I
sure.
appreciate your time and all that you do, brother. I really mean that.
I appreciate what you do as well, man. You're great. You're great at this. It's a good thing.
Well, thank you, and I'm sure everybody in chat. Aaron says thanks. Everybody says thanks. They appreciate you, and there's a bunch of hearts on the screen. So,
all right. That's really nice. I appreciate that. It's really nice to see that.
All right. Tell the missus I said hi, and keep up the good work, man. I don't know. Whenever you got free time, I'm open, man. So
okay. Yeah,
anytime.
Sure. Yeah. We're in touch with each other, so it's not a problem. We'll see. Yeah.
Okay, bud.
We'll do it again.
Stay well.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Steve.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, man.
You too, brother.